Tuesday, April 28th, and today we are moving on in math to activity 8, which is classifying triangles. And today's objective, students will be able to classify triangles by identifying the types of angles in the triangle. And our DOL is your online math assignment called Classifying Triangles. So let's get started. Problem of the day. Jessica measured an angle to be 113 degrees. What type of angle did Jessica measure? Acute, obtuse, or right? Well, I know that a right angle is 90 degrees. And I know an angle that is larger than 90 degrees is an obtuse angle. And if I'm looking at a 113-degree angle, I know it must be obtuse because obtuse angles are bigger than 90 degrees and 113 is bigger than 90. Let's continue. I'm going to now explain the 3 different types of triangles, and you need to pay very close attention because you'll need to classify these triangles for our DOL today. Our first type of triangle is called an equilateral triangle, and that's when all sides of the triangle are equal in length. So if you look at our green triangle on the right, each side is 6 inches. So since they are all 6 inches, that means they're an equilateral triangle. All angles are acute, which means they are smaller than 90 degrees. Another name to call this type of triangle is an acute triangle because it has all acute angles. So an equilateral triangle has all of the same equal sides, and an acute triangle has all acute angles in it. Our second type of triangle is an isosceles triangle, and that's when 2 of the 3 sides are equal in length. So if you look at our triangle at the bottom, 2 sides are 5 inches and the third side is 10 inches. This type of triangle has 2 acute angles and 1 obtuse angle. And if you look here on the right, if I can move this, let's see. I'm not sure how I can move this. Well, you can see it on the screen now. Since it has 1 obtuse angle, this is also called an obtuse triangle. So if you look at a triangle and it has 1 obtuse angle, which we see here, you can call it an obtuse triangle, or you can call it an isosceles triangle if it has 2 sides equal and the third side is not equal, is not the same. And the third type of triangle is a scalene triangle. That means they have no equal sides. And if you look at this triangle on the screen, each side has a different length. So 10 inches, 7 inches, and 5 inches. A triangle that has 2 acute angles and 1 right angle that we see in the corner here, that means it is called a right triangle. So we can call this triangle a scalene triangle since it has 3 different lengths. The sides are all 3 different lengths. Or since it has 1 right angle, we can call it a right triangle. So you can classify that 2 different ways. Now, teacher model. Which of the following labels can be used to classify the triangle based on its angles? So first we're going to focus on the angles of 20 degrees, 140 degrees, and 20 degrees. And then we're going to look at the side lengths, so 10 meters, and 35 meters. Let's begin by looking at the first question. Is this an acute, obtuse, or right triangle? These words, acute, obtuse, and right, we have seen before, and they refer to the size of an angle. The same holds true when we are using them to classify a triangle. An acute triangle has all acute angles. An obtuse triangle has 1 obtuse angle and 2 acute. And a right triangle has 1 right angle. In the triangle we have been given, the angle measurements are labeled 20 degrees, 140 degrees, and 20 degrees. Right away, I know that this is not a right triangle because there is not a 90-degree angle. There is, however, an obtuse angle of 140 degrees. Therefore, this is an obtuse triangle. So I'm going to circle that for the first part. And all I did was look at the angle measurements. The second question asks us to look at the same triangle and this time decide if it's an equilateral, an isosceles, or a scalene triangle. These terms are referring to the side lengths of the triangle. An equilateral triangle has 3 sides that are equal, or all the same length. An isosceles triangle has 2 sides that are equal. A scalene triangle has 3 sides that are all different lengths. Looking at the side lengths given for this triangle, they are not all the same, so this is not an equilateral triangle. There are 2 side lengths that are the same though, so it would be considered an isosceles triangle. We couldn't call this a scalene triangle because it has 2 sides that are equal, 10 meters each. In order to be a scalene, all sides need to be different lengths. So because 2 of the 3 sides are the same length, this is an isosceles triangle. Okay, so this is obtuse and isosceles. Now let's move on to another example. Which of the following labels can be used to classify the triangle based on its angles? And then we're going to look at the sides. Let's start with the first question. This asks us to classify the triangle based on its angles. What do we notice about the angles of this triangle that helps you classify it? Right away, this angle caught my eye. It's 90 degrees. That means I know this has to be a right triangle because it has a 90-degree angle in it. Now let's look at the sides. Are they all the same? No. So this can't be equilateral. Are 2 sides the same length? No. Oh, so this must be a scalene triangle because all the lengths of the sides are different. Your independent work today is to complete the math online assignment. If you need help, just keep watching these videos to see the definitions of all the different types of triangles. Have a great Tuesday.